Have you been kept up on the Ole Miss news that has come out in the last 24 hours?
Brett just told me there was an issue with one of their quarterbacks. That was the first I'd heard of it. So I was made aware of it, like I said, just a second ago.
Does that give you any hope?
You know, it sounds to me like they were still undecided as to who was the starter. I don't know if they've named one yet, and so I'm not sure what their intentions are to do with the player that got in trouble, but we'll find out soon enough, I'm sure.
Does that matter as much, game preparation?
Not so much, because I haven't seen any of them, you know, and we kind of know the style they're going to play, but the first game there's a lot of questions, and that just adds one more to it. So of the three quarterbacks, I don't know any of them well enough to know what strengths and weaknesses they might have, and so we'll just try to prepare and play and execute our defense the best we can, and then match up to personnel as the game goes.
Can you imagine if last year, while you're looking for your quarterback, if you'd had to deal with those kind of off-the-field issues?
It's hard. Your team chemistry is certainly affected, and the continuity offensively is certainly affected, at least from what I learned a year ago. And while you still can play strong in your opener, which we did a year ago, in fact, to the point where I thought a two-quarterback system would work, the difficult part is sustaining it. So you might be able to, for a time, have a number of quarterbacks, but eventually I think you need one.
How specific have you been in practice regarding Ole Miss?
Just started. The entire practices tomorrow will shift toward Ole Miss, and so we've just been doing some introductions.
Do they have more situational stuff there?
Overtime today was our last situation that we hadn't addressed yet.
Have you decided on kick and punt returners yet? Is that set on
I can tell you where it is as of today. The punt returners J.D. Falslev, and the kick returners are Jordan Johnson and Mike Haig. It might change prior to the game time, but that's, if we were to go today, that's who it would be.
Jordan Johnson might be a surprise. What makes him a
So I ran the kickoff team a year ago, and Jordan Johnson was always the scout kick returner and punt returner, and both units had a really hard time getting a hold of him. And we were just kind of biding our time, waiting for him to not redshirt or be out of his redshirt year. And no one has seen it yet in a live game, but we've seen enough in practice to where we think, and the players believe in him, so we'll see.
Was there any thought given to maybe Dallin Tallstrip also?
He's working his way. He's competing for a spot, and not only at receiver but at returner. So he's kind of come from off the radar to being a consideration.
Bronco, can you talk about watching Brandon Doman grow into the offensive coordinator role, going from a position coach?
I think the experience as a quarterback at BYU, being a quarterback in the NFL, and being in this system already with strong leadership, it's been a smooth transition. You know, I haven't seen this giant leap he had to make. To me, he's handled it with a lot of poise and a lot of class and confidence, and if there are mistakes, it's really apparent how quickly he corrects them, and so I've been impressed. There'll still be some, as we all make them during the season, a call here or there you'd like to change, but it won't be because of lack of effort or intent, and I'm really confident and trust him.
Does it remind you of your own process that you went through?
Well, it's hard to say. We're different personalities, but I think he cares so much that he imposes a lot of pressure on himself. I think that part is similar.
Talk about the leadership among the team and how it's coming along.
It's held together pretty well. You know, we've competed against each other so long, but they've held together pretty well. And I think there's multiple leaders on the team besides the captains, and we have leaders of the special teams as well. And so really that kind of core group of 6 players are the ones that I think most of our guys look to. And then you have the leadership council in addition to that. And so with the number of seniors we have, and as much time as they've been in the program, there's a different stability this season than there was a year ago, maybe similar to years before that, in terms of having more veteran players.
At this point in your progression, what do you think is the biggest need for your football team right now?
Just to play a game. I'm comfortable with the situations while we're not perfect, and our execution isn't exactly where it needs to be. We just need to prepare for an opponent and play. That's the next step.
Is it safe to say you've gone from maybe linebacker being a position of questionable to a strength of the team?
I think it's one of the strengths right now, not only at inside linebacker but outside linebacker, and those guys will make up the core of our special teams as well. So it is one of the strengths of our team.
Along those same lines, when you started at BYU, the defensive backs in secondary was a big question mark, and now you've got 100 guys that can step in and do it.
Well, we have more depth. We still have some unproven players, but it's fun to have 2 or 3 players to be battling and consider. And our biggest challenge in the secondary right now is putting the right four out there and letting them play together long enough that they can develop kind of their own identity. And we'll focus hard on that from now until we play.
Does that continue to show up in practice?
It does. And again, I won't be positive in that part in terms of their chemistry until we actually play a game and see how they communicate and handle it. But they're good enough players. Okay.